Now we come to Aristotle's synthetic theory, his version of virtue theory. Now, he didn't invent this theory, but he does a good job of explaining it. It forms the foundation for our course and the readings for the first part of our course. We begin by acknowledging Aristotle's teleology. The word teleology comes from the Greek word telos, which means end, as in the end justifies the means. According to teleology, everything in nature has a purpose, and that purpose is unique to its species. Therefore, to understand anything is to understand its particular purpose. Since the capacity for reason distinguishes humans from all other living things, human purpose must involve rational control of our emotional side and the rational quest for the truth. Right off the bat, there are a couple of challenges to this theory. The first one is simply to ask, why? Why does everything in nature have to have a purpose? Secondly, we can look at other moral theories as offering challenges to Aristotle. For example, regulaриanism says, don't worry about purposes, just obey the rules. Deontology says, don't worry about natural purposes, just act from duty. What follows comes from Aristotle's book Nicomachean Ethics, which he wrote around 340 BCE. Note our move from discussion of moral conduct to discussion of moral character. For Aristotle, the study of ethics is the study of good human character, or virtue, and bad human character, or vice. According to virtue theory, vice and virtue occur relative to the agent's particular purpose. Virtue is fulfillment of that purpose, and vice is failure to fulfill that purpose. That the agent should fulfill a purpose is, in a sense, deontological. That the purpose is desirable is consequentialist. Two of the optional readings provide helpful explication here. Carter Crockett's essay, The Cultural Paradigm of Virtues, helpfully describes virtue theory as a bridge between consequentialism and deontology. Sean Hanna and Bruce Avolio explain that moral character is more than mere personality or merely a set of values. Ethics and happiness are tied together, says Aristotle. Happiness is the ultimate aim of human activity in some sense. In other words, it is the ultimate goal of everything humans do. So the better use of our reason, the happier we are. Happiness is the result of morally good behavior, and unhappiness is the result of morally bad behavior. Moral virtue as the ability to control the non-rational part of our souls. Intellectual virtue is the ability to find the truth. There are two parts to intellectual virtue, practical wisdom and theoretical wisdom. Practical wisdom is the ability to grasp changeable truth. Theoretical wisdom is the ability to grasp unchangeable truth. A changeable truth would be, for example, I'm 55 years old. That may be true now, but it won't be true in the future, and it wasn't true in the past. An unchangeable truth is a truth that never changes, such as mathematical truths. 2 plus 2 will always equal 4, no matter what happens to the universe. The more virtuous we are, the more we fulfill our particular purpose in nature. Specifically for Aristotle, virtue is the ability habitually to know the good and to do the good. Virtue is analogous to archery, says Aristotle. An excellent archer knows how to aim at the bullseye and hits that bullseye routinely. A good archer understands the rudiments of aiming, but may miss the bullseye more than he or she would like. A bad archer is simply unable either to find the bullseye, or if he can find the bullseye, to hit that bullseye regularly. Incidentally, ethos is the Greek word for habit, and mos is the Latin word for habit. From these two languages, English gets the words ethics and ethical on the one hand, and moral and morals and morality on the other. This is why we have been using and will continue to use the terms ethical and moral interchangeably. In this course, virtue is the ability habitually to know the good and to do the good. The good at its best, says Aristotle, is perfect. Perfect means there's neither too much of it nor too little of it. The good must be the mean between too little, or deficiency, and too much, or excess. Note that if we had stopped at Aristotle's basic definition of virtue as the ability habitually to do the good and know the good, we wouldn't have a very useful tool. How, for example, should a board of directors decide whether to fire a CEO whose drinking problem has recently come to light, but it was doing the job well for which she was hired? If the only thing the board has to go on is that it ought to habitually know the good and do the good, what does that mean? Aristotle makes things a little clearer by telling us that good is the mean between extremes. For the board of directors, what would be the least deficient and the least excessive option? Simply ignoring the problem would be a deficient response. But would firing the CEO be excessive under the circumstances? Mightn't counseling or close observation be less extreme? So far, then, the theory is too abstract